Have you ever felt a tug in your very bones? A whisper carried from lands you have never seen, yet somehow know in your heart? Tonight, that tug comes from Amun, overseas kissed by starlight and winds fragrant with the memory of uncounted ages, where the blue wizards once lingered before fate sent them eastward, into lands of shadow and rumor, their deeds almost entirely lost to the songs of men and the tales of elves. You can almost hear the faint, high-pitched trill of an elven horn echoing over the peaks of Tanicatil, mingling with the distant, steady drip of dew from silver-leaved Malorn trees in your mind's eye, as if the mountains themselves conspire to call you forth. You walk barefoot on cool grass near Rivendell's outer glades, toes brushing the dew-laden moss, and the scent of pine and distant river intertwines, wrapping you in a melancholy calm that hums with potential. The wind carries tiny motes of dust, glinting like starlight caught mid-dance, reminding you that you are a solitary traveler along a path known only to the most attuned hearts. A forgotten tidbit flits through your consciousness. Some Eldar still believed the blue wizards carried not only spells, but secret songs meant to sway the hearts of men and thwart rising shadows far in the east. A truth debated even by the wisest in Imladris, for no scroll or memory fully preserves their deeds. You chuckle quietly as a leaf falls with exaggerated solemnity, imagining it as a tiny, inept wizard trying to announce itself to the world. Here, in this liminal moment, you probably wouldn't survive the harsh eastward winds without care. Yet the thrill of adventure pulses like the deep current under the Anduin. Somewhere between the glimmering starlight over the misty mountains and the soft whisper of running water, you pause, letting the resonance of history, myth, and anticipation mingle within you. The sense of being watched, not with malice but curiosity, is palpable, as if even the stones remember the steps of past wizards, echoing your own. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, crossing misty Anduin. The river stretches before you like a ribbon of molten silver, mist curling off its surface in delicate tendrils that lick your ankles as you step onto the pebbled shore. The Anduin moves with a quiet dignity, carrying centuries of whispered tales, drowned songs, and forgotten oaths, and you can almost hear the faint plash of unseen fish darting beneath the surface, as if the river itself hums a lullaby meant only for those who dare to walk its edges. Your staff presses lightly against the wet stones, steadying you as the fog thickens, each footfall creating ripples that catch the earliest hints of dawn. Though the sun has yet to rise above the distant mountains, the air is crisp with a tinge of earthy decay, a scent that reminds you of dwarven mines far to the north, where stone dust and sweat mingle like old friends, and you smile softly, imagining a dwarf grumbling about waterlogged boots while secretly appreciating the view. Here, on the riverbank, the ancient currents seem almost alive, urging you to move, to test your balance and patience, and you murmur a joke to yourself about a blue wizard slipping on a mossy rock and landing in a puddle of elvish tea. Though, of course, the blue wizard's dignity is nothing to laugh at, even in imagination. Some scholars debate whether the wizards ever truly crossed these waters in their original mission, or if tales were later embroidered by wandering minstrels, their verses shaped by poetic license and the awe of listeners. You feel the weight of that uncertainty like a stone in your pocket, grounding your steps, yet inviting curiosity. Mist swirls around the river bend like a living veil, revealing glimpses of shadowy willows whose long fingers seem to beckon you forward. And a heron rises with a silent flap, wings scraping the fog as if to mark your passage. You pause mid-step, letting the chill water lap over your boots, sensing the rhythm of the Anduin beneath your gaze. It is patient, unwavering, carrying the memory of countless travelers, victories, and secret meetings that will never be recorded in any book. A small hidden waterfall trickles nearby, producing a soothing, irregular cadence that harmonizes with your own heartbeat. And you realize that even a river can teach lessons of persistence, subtlety, and timing, much like the Blue Wizard's subtle manipulations of distant kingdoms. You can feel the mist curling around your neck and brushing your ears, a soft, invisible hand that whispers encouragement and gentle warnings. One wrong step, and the cold waters would embrace you before anyone could notice. Yet the thrill of this precarious journey fills your senses with a live, electric clarity. As the fog begins to thin, sunlight flits through in golden slivers, reflecting off the river like scattered coins of the Valar, and the distant song of an unseen lark carries over the waters, a reminder that life continues even where shadows press hardest. You tuck your cloak tighter and take a careful step forward, a smile tugging at your lips at the thought of how easily the river could turn a wizard's day into a soggy tale to recount in the taverns of old. Some say the currents remember every wizard who ever walked its edges, though others argue memory is a trick of the wind and the mind, leaving the truth forever shrouded. And as you move deeper into the mist, the Anduin's quiet majesty enfolds you, urging patience, reflection, and wonder, and you feel the pulse of history, legend, and perhaps your own destiny beneath your feet. Whispering forests of Wilderland. The trees rise like sentinels around you, their trunks thick with ancient bark patterned in knots and runes that the elves once whispered to each other in hushed, melodic tones. And as you step onto the leaf-strewn path, the scent of damp moss and wildflowers mingles with the faint, sweet decay of fallen timber, creating a perfume older than any kingdom of men. Light filters through the canopy in scattered beams, illuminating motes of dust that dance in the quiet air like tiny, diligent lanterns. And you notice how each step releases a delicate symphony of crunching leaves and snapping twigs, harmonizing with the distant gurgle of a hidden brook. You follow the path deeper into the forest, feeling a shiver of thrill as shadows lengthen and flicker, each one hinting at the unseen eyes of creatures both mundane and magical. And you can't help but whisper a joke to yourself about a squirrel acting as a secret agent for the Blue Wizards, carrying coated acorns across the undergrowth. The humor makes the tension lighter, and you inhale the cool, humid air with quiet satisfaction. Scholars still debate whether the forests of Wilderland ever truly sheltered the Blue Wizards on their eastern journeys, or whether songs and legends merely suggest their presence, leaving only fleeting impressions in the minds of those attuned to magic. You tread carefully, wondering which of the whispering leaves might carry the residue of ancient enchantments, or even a mislaid instruction from a long-lost Istari. A hidden glade opens briefly, and you notice a circle of mushrooms glimmering faintly under the moon's reflection through the trees, an old elvish belief claiming that dancing among them at night grants insight into paths unseen, though no living elf could recall the last soul brave enough to test it. You smile, imagining a blue wizard attempting the dance and tripping over a particularly stubborn root, muttering an apology to an audience of invisible spirits. The deeper you walk, the more the forest seems to breathe with you, its subtle rhythms matching your own heartbeat, and the songs of birds and distant wind through high branches layer like a gentle chorus that only the attentive traveler can hear. Occasionally, you pause to listen to the strange, low hum resonating from hollowed trunks, perhaps the echo of centuries of elvish footsteps, or perhaps a trick of the imagination, a reminder that forests remember more than just storms and seasons. You brush aside a tangle of ivy, feeling the damp tendrils cling briefly to your fingers, and in that contact, you sense the soft pulse of life in every inch of bark, vine, and soil, a living testament to the patience and quiet endurance of the natural world. One scholar posits that the blue wizards relied on such forests as safe passage through hostile lands, their spells hidden in the very fabric of wood and leaf, while another insists they left no trace at all, their impact existing only in rumor and the occasional, oddly vivid dream. As you walk, you hum softly, a tune picked up from half-remembered elvish songs, and the melody seems to encourage the trees to part ever so slightly, guiding you along narrow corridors of shade and sunlight, each twist and turn steeped in possibility. Your cloak brushes the damp undergrowth, carrying the earthy fragrance to your nose, grounding you in the present while your mind flits to the distant mountains beyond, imagining how the blue wizard's own thoughts may have danced like these motes of light through the ancient woods. Even here, far from the river's mist and Aemon's distant shores, the magic of the land hums subtly, a gentle reminder that every path you tread is layered with the weight of history, myth, and the faint echo of laughter long past. And you feel, with a mixture of reverence and playful curiosity, that the forest itself is sharing a secret meant for your ears alone. The people greet you with cautious nods and murmured words in tongues only partially intelligible to your ears, and yet the meaning filters through. A welcome, a question, a shared curiosity about the strange blue robes and staff that mark you as an outsider of considerable significance. You smile, quietly thinking how amusing it would be if the blue wizards had once played a practical joke on one of these wandering folk, perhaps convincing them that a talking crow carried messages from Valinor. Some say Gandalf foresaw this meeting, knowing that these forgotten communities might hold the key to guiding his fellow Istari eastward. Others, however, argue that fate alone drew the paths together, and that neither foresight nor prophecy could dictate such precise timing, leaving the truth suspended in a liminal space between certainty and legend. A child emerges from behind a fence of woven branches, clutching a carved wooden bird and offering it to you. And the subtle kindness of the gesture makes you chuckle inwardly, imagining the tiny gift as a spy report for some secret wizarding council, delivered with the solemnity of a general inspecting troops. You listen to the elders discuss the coming seasons and the movement of wildlife, their voices soft and melodic, carrying a cadence older than most human memory. And you note the unusual custom of sharing bread and honey at dawn with wandering strangers, a practice said to honor the spirits of the land and ensure safe passage, yet largely forgotten by distant kingdoms. The thought that such small acts could ripple outward, affecting destinies beyond imagination, humbles you deeply. The children of the tribe begin weaving tiny mats from reeds and twigs, their nimble fingers reminiscent of the blue wizard's reputed skill with subtle enchantments. And you cannot help but marvel at the intricate patterns that emerge, each unique yet harmoniously part of the whole. Much like the interlaced fates of men, elves, and wizards, reminding you that even in apparent simplicity, profound complexity resides. As you share stories with the wandering folk, you are struck by an obscure belief. They speak of the river spirits, who sometimes disguise themselves as travelers in blue robes, guiding or testing those who wander too far from safe paths. You smile at the thought, noting how easily such lore could be interpreted by scholars centuries later as evidence of the Blue Wizard's covert influence. Laughter bubbles softly through the camp as a young man tells a tall tale of a wizard turning a goat into a teapot, and you join in, allowing yourself the gentle amusement of absurdity amidst a journey weighted with responsibility. It is a rare moment where magic, mirth, and human warmth collide, and the forest itself seems to lean closer, listening. You take note of routes, secret clearings, and hidden streams suggested in conversation, committing every subtle detail to memory, aware that this knowledge may guide your steps far to the east, perhaps into lands the Blue Wizards once walked, their footprints now obscured by time and shadow. The air vibrates with possibility, and the murmured conversations, the soft patter of children at play, the rustle of clothing and leaves, all form a symphony that sings of life persisting quietly, resiliently, in the folds of legend. And as the sun dips lower, casting amber light across the path and highlighting the braided hair of elders and children alike, you sense a connection that transcends language and years, a fleeting but profound reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked communities can carry the whispers of history, the spark of enduring magic, and the delicate threads upon which fate itself may one day travel. Secrets of the Forgotten Strongholds. The trail narrows as you approach crumbling towers and half-buried walls that emerge like ghosts from the forest floor. Stones mottled with moss and lichen, their surfaces etched with carvings worn almost smooth by centuries of rain and wind. You run your fingers lightly over the rough surfaces, tracing the faint remnants of dwarven runes intermingled with elvish sigils, feeling the pulse of history beneath your touch, as if the stones themselves remember the long-forgotten footsteps of warriors, miners, and wizards long vanished into myth. A faint breeze carries the metallic tang of rust and the earthy perfume of soil disturbed by roots pushing through masonry. And you pause to listen to the quiet groan of ancient timber beams, imagining the echo of hammers and songs of smiths resonating in halls now abandoned to shadow. You murmur a joke about a blue wizard accidentally locking himself in a secret chamber for a fortnight, emerging only to find a mushroom colony claiming his robes as their own, and the memory makes the heavy silence feel lighter. Scholars debate the exact purpose of these strongholds, some insisting they were defensive outposts built to check the spread of Sauron's servants in the east, others claiming they were laboratories for magical experiments too subtle to record in any history book. But standing among their remnants, the ambiguity feels less frustrating and more like a tactile enigma, inviting your imagination to fill the void left by centuries of lost knowledge. Between cracked battlements and collapsed staircases, you spot faint glimmers of gemstone in the walls, remnants of treasures long looted or hidden by their builders, and an obscure dwarvish custom crosses your mind. It is said that craftsmen would sometimes embed tiny tokens of personal significance into the mortar, a silent signature meant only for the eyes of those who knew the craft, a hidden conversation across time. You climb carefully along a narrow ledge overlooking a deep courtyard, feeling the cool, rough stone beneath your palms, and catch the faint scent of smoke rising from a small, stubborn fire left in one corner, likely remnants of those who had sheltered here centuries before. The smoke curls into the air like an invisible ribbon, carrying a melody of distant mountains, echoing the rhythm of the Blue Wizard's rumored travels eastward. Birds flit in and out of the hollowed windows, their wing beats creating a soft percussion against the stillness, and you hum lightly, thinking how amusing it would have been if one of the wizards had used their subtle spells to entertain themselves by conversing with birds in riddles, a practice long forgotten except for the most careful scholars who pore over scattered manuscripts. Each doorway you pass seems to demand a choice. Venture inward into the dark corridors or skirt the periphery, and you are reminded of the open debate among lore-keepers about whether the Blue Wizard's greatest power lay in confrontation or in subtle influence, a question that may never be answered with certainty, leaving only conjecture and the thrill of speculation. Sunlight filters through cracks in collapsed roofs, highlighting motes of dust that float like tiny stars in an otherwise shadowed world, and you breathe deeply, savoring the mix of decay and life, of human endeavor and natural reclamation, noting the subtle interplay of scent, sound, and texture, as if the strongholds themselves are a living archive, willing to share secrets only with the attentive traveler. A sudden rustle draws your attention to a narrow passage where the floor is littered with ancient scroll fragments, their edges brittle but still whispering faint symbols of knowledge that might have guided the Blue Wizards in their subtle manipulations of far-off kingdoms. You smile wryly at the thought that these ruins, so long abandoned, might yet hold the faint echo of a joke, a riddle, or an instruction meant for eyes that will never see them, trials of the Blue Wizards. The path narrows further as you enter a glade where shadows deepen and the wind seems to pause, holding its breath in anticipation of your next steps. Ancient stones arranged in concentric circles rise from the forest floor like silent sentinels, their surfaces etched with faded runes that shimmer faintly in the filtered sunlight. And you feel a thrill of recognition. This is a place designed not for rest, but for testing. A crucible meant to challenge courage, wit, and patience in equal measure. The air hums faintly with a lingering magic, as though the very atmosphere has been imbued with the Blue Wizard's subtle enchantments, and a distant hoot of an owl punctuates the stillness, echoing against the gnarled roots of towering oaks. You whisper a soft joke about a wizard misreading a runic instruction and accidentally turning a squirrel into a scroll, and the absurdity makes the tension lift ever so slightly. Some scholars claim these trials were real, designed to prepare the wizards for the uncharted lands of the East, while others argue that the descriptions are allegorical, meant to convey the inner journey of wisdom and restraint, leaving the truth to be debated among those who study the Astari. You feel the weight of this uncertainty as you step lightly over a moss-covered stone, careful not to disturb the intricate balance of this ancient place. A narrow passage opens ahead, and you notice subtle changes in the air. A faint shimmer of heat, the scent of crushed herbs, and the soft rustle of hidden leaves, each element presenting a silent puzzle, a test of observation and patience. You smile to yourself, imagining a Blue Wizard tapping his staff in rhythm with the forest, coaxing answers from the land itself. You encounter a small pool of water, perfectly still, reflecting the canopy above. And as you peer into its depths, you see not only your own reflection, but fleeting glimpses of past travelers who once faced the trials. An echo of history preserved in the elemental memory of the forest. It is both humbling and exhilarating, reminding you that these challenges are as much about insight as skill. A faint laugh escapes your lips as a branch snaps underfoot, startling a nearby deer that darts away with surprising elegance, and you are reminded that even in the solemnity of trials, the natural world observes and reacts, often with gentle humor, to the footsteps of those who dare to pass. The forest floor is littered with symbols carved into stones and etched into bark, hints left for those who follow. Subtle codes, riddles, and instructions that once guided the Blue Wizards through puzzles that tested their mastery of both magic and mind. You crouch to examine a particularly intricate carving, noting how the lines twist and curve like the rivers of Middle-earth, and imagine the careful thought it must have taken to embed lessons in such a silent, enduring way. A soft wind stirs, carrying with it the faint scent of jasmine and earth, and you feel the pulse of the glade as though it were a living entity, testing your endurance, your wit, and your perception. One obscure elvish belief whispers that the glade itself chooses who may pass, rewarding those who move with patience and respect, while subtly punishing arrogance, a practice lost to all but the oldest lore-keepers. You step carefully through the trial, aware that each choice, each careful movement, may ripple across time and memory, shaping not only your journey, but perhaps even the unseen influence of the blue wizards in the lands far to the east. It is a delicate balance between courage and caution, humor and reverence, knowledge and instinct, and you find yourself smiling at the subtle interplay, the lessons hidden in the very stones and leaves that surround you. And as you navigate the final puzzle, a circle of standing stones that hum faintly when touched in the correct sequence, you feel a quiet triumph, a gentle recognition that the trials were never merely obstacles, but invitations to attune yourself to the world, to listen, to observe, and to learn, just as the blue wizards must have done countless ages ago. Shadows in the east. The forest gradually thins, giving way to rolling plains that stretch toward the horizon, where the sun strikes low over distant hills, painting them in molten gold and deep violet shadows, and you feel the weight of distance pressing upon you, a silent reminder that the lands the blue wizards once traversed are far from the familiar, brimming with mysteries that may never be fully understood. The grass sways with a gentle sigh, carrying scents of warm soil, wildflowers, and faint traces of smoke from far-off villages, and you step lightly, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of this expanse. A soft breeze brushes your cloak against your arm, and you whisper a joke about a wizard trying to herd invisible cows across such endless plains, earning nothing but bemused stares from startled birds. Legends speak of rising shadows in these eastern lands, places untouched by Sauron's gaze yet stirring with potential danger. And you note the subtle unease in the wind, as if it carries warnings meant only for the perceptive traveler, blending with the distant calls of hawks circling overhead. Scholars continue to debate the true nature of the Blue Wizard's eastern journey. Some argue they established secret alliances to counter burgeoning darkness, while others believe their purpose was more symbolic, leaving only the faintest traces in oral histories and obscure elven songs. You feel the pull of uncertainty like a distant drumbeat, urging attention to every sight, sound, and scent along your path. A small stream glints ahead, water cool and clear, running over smooth stones that reflect the amber of the setting sun. And you pause to drink and observe tiny fish darting beneath the surface, their movements precise and coordinated, reminding you of the meticulous care the wizards likely employed in influencing events far from Aman. Hidden among the plains are the faint remains of watchtowers and fortifications, half swallowed by earth and overgrown with hardy shrubs, suggesting a vigilance long abandoned, yet still silently guarding the horizon. You trace the worn stones with a finger, imagining the long-gone sentinels who might have glimpsed distant figures cloaked in blue, moving like shadows against the rolling hills. An obscure tale drifts into your thoughts. Some old scrolls suggest that the wizards, in secret, orchestrated minor disturbances to shape the politics of distant realms, subtle nudges invisible to historians, while yet another interpretation posits that such stories are fabrications, allegories of patience and restraint rather than literal events. The debate leaves you smiling, aware that the truth may forever reside in the delicate tension between legend and memory. A hawk cries overhead, its sharp call slicing through the warm evening air, and you marvel at the quiet, enduring life of these plains, where even the smallest movement, your own footfall, the flick of a leaf, seems amplified in resonance, reminding you that your presence is a small yet significant thread in the tapestry of time. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky with streaks of rose and violet, you notice the faint glimmer of distant settlements, smoke curling into the sky like a signal, and your heart quickens at the possibility of contact, or perhaps confrontation. You allow a soft, playful grin at the thought of the blue wizards watching you from centuries past, noting your every choice with mild amusement. Shadows lengthen across the plains, stretching long and elegant, merging with the first hints of night, and you breathe deeply, letting the cool air fill your lungs, aware that the journey eastward holds not only danger but insight, a convergence of history, myth, and living memory that unfolds gently beneath the vast, open sky. Night drapes over the eastern plains like a velvet cloak, soft and weighty, and you find yourself in a clearing ringed with ancient stones, their surfaces etched with sigils that glimmer faintly in the silver light of the rising moon, as though the very earth remembers a ceremony long forgotten by men and elves alike. The air is cool, scented with crushed herbs and the subtle musk of dew-damp grass, carrying a gentle hum that resonates through your chest, reminding you that some places exist only to teach, to whisper, and to hold secrets meant for the patient and the attentive. You set your staff carefully into the soil, the point sinking slightly, and the faint vibration that tingles up your arm is a quiet acknowledgement from the land itself, urging reverence and careful observation. A playful thought crosses your mind. What if a blue wizard had once tripped over one of these stones, muttering apologies to spirits long asleep? And you stifle a laugh, feeling the tension ease in the moonlit quiet. The ritual itself requires not grand gestures, but subtle precision, a sequence of gestures, words spoken softly, and alignment of natural elements in a pattern known only to those initiated into the oldest lore. And you sense the echo of countless practitioners across ages guiding your motions, gentle and insistent. Scholars debate whether this hidden rite truly influenced the political currents of distant lands, or whether it was purely symbolic, a meditative practice to attune the wizards' minds to the subtle flow of the world. You feel the weight of that debate as you move deliberately, mindful that each action may ripple outward, even invisibly, shaping events and perceptions in ways you cannot immediately perceive. Around you, faint motes of light hover in the darkness, flickering like distant stars fallen to earth, and you recognize them as the lingering touch of enchantments laid by those who came before. An obscure, almost forgotten elvish belief holds that each successful ritual leaves behind a trace, a soft echo that resonates with the land for centuries, imperceptible to the untrained eye. You kneel to draw a pattern in the soil, fingers tracing ancient shapes, feeling the cool earth beneath your palms, and the soft, rhythmic sound of your movements blends with the gentle rustle of leaves, the distant chirp of crickets, and the occasional low call of an owl perched high in a skeletal tree, creating a quiet symphony that underscores the gravity of the moment. As you chant the phrases with measured breath, the air itself seems to respond, a subtle vibration passing through the clearing, and you cannot help but smile at the delicate power of such simple gestures. A reminder that even the smallest actions, when made with knowledge and intent, can hold profound significance. The ritual reaches its climax under the full gaze of the moon, and a faint shimmer rises from the stones, a whisper of energy that seems to pulse in time with your heartbeat. A light, almost imperceptible breeze carries the faint scent of flowers long extinct in these lands, a quiet tribute from the world to those who once practiced here. You step back, sensing the completion of the rite, a gentle satisfaction settling through your chest, and notice the lingering glow on the edges of the stones, like soft starlight caught mid-dance. In that moment, the debate of scholars, the whispers of the land, and the echoes of the blue wizards converge into a serene clarity, a fleeting understanding that some mysteries exist to be experienced, not explained. A faint, mischievous smile tugs at your lips as you imagine a future scholar discovering the faint traces you leave tonight and speculating wildly about their origin, never knowing that the ritual, performed quietly under the moon, was simply a continuation of a centuries-old dance between wizard and world, intention and chance. And as you straighten, the cool night air brushing your face, the clearing seems to exhale, soft and welcoming, allowing you a moment of quiet reflection on the delicacy and depth of magic practiced with patience, subtlety, and respect. Dawn creeps slowly across the eastern horizon, spilling liquid gold over the plains and casting long, tentative shadows that stretch like fingers across the soft grass. And you feel the weight of decision pressing gently yet insistently upon you. A reminder that every choice, no matter how small, resonates far beyond the moment, through the lives of men, elves, and wizards alike. Each step you take along the narrow path feels simultaneously fleeting and eternal, a paradox that humbles and excites in equal measure. You pause to consider the various routes before you, the subtle bends in the river, the hidden hollows between hills, and the whispers of distant villages, knowing that each path could alter not only the immediate journey, but the broader tapestry of history, as if your presence, however slight, threads itself into the loom of time. Scholars debate endlessly whether the Blue Wizard's interventions in distant realms were acts of careful guidance or mere happenstance. Some argue that their subtle influence prevented greater evils from arising in the East, while others claim their deeds were purely symbolic, leaving only the faintest imprint in legend. And you feel the tension of this uncertainty like the cool brush of wind on your neck, urging mindfulness at every step. A gentle breeze stirs the tall grass, carrying scents of earth and wildflowers, and you allow yourself a small, quiet joke, imagining a wizard choosing incorrectly and ending up trading a village's harvest for an enchanted teapot, lightening the gravity that otherwise presses around your shoulders. You navigate carefully along a narrow ridge, the drop on either side steep and moss-covered, and as you move, you notice tiny cairns of stone, almost imperceptible markers left by past travelers, each one a silent testament to choices made, risks taken, and lessons learned. Some say these markers were the work of the Blue Wizards themselves, others that they are merely echoes of the land's memory. Yet standing there, you feel both explanations could hold truth. The morning air is alive with song, birds greeting the sun with intricate calls, the distant rush of water over rocks, and the soft rustle of leaves in unseen trees, creating a quiet symphony that accompanies your reflections. A reminder that time itself has its own rhythms, both patient and precise, indifferent yet attentive to those who walk its paths. You pause to consider the obscure elvish belief that every deliberate choice resonates across generations, subtly influencing fate and fortune in ways too delicate for mortal eyes to perceive. It makes you mindful of your own movements, the alignment of your staff, the rhythm of your breathing, and the gentle sway of your cloak, all contributing, however slightly, to the unfolding pattern of events. Shadows shift across the hills as the sun rises higher, casting familiar shapes into unfamiliar forms, and you chuckle softly at the thought of a blue wizard wandering the same plains centuries ago, making choices that now echo in your own careful steps, perhaps observing you invisibly and shaking their head at your cautious humor. Small animals scurry through the undergrowth, leaves crunching softly under nimble feet, and you feel a kinship with these creatures, each moving deliberately, each aware in its own way of how fleeting moments shape the day. The lesson is subtle, yet profound, teaching patience, observation, and the gentle weight of decision. And as the sun reaches a golden zenith, illuminating the landscape with a warm, steady light, you recognize that your choices, while personal, ripple outward like waves across the surface of a still lake, touching unseen lives and distant lands. And you carry this awareness with a quiet reverence, a sense that the Blue Wizard's legacy lives not only in myth, but in every careful, intentional step you take along their ancient, shadowed path. Return or vanishing, the final stretch of your journey unfolds beneath a sky brushed with the softest hues of twilight, where fading starlight glimmers against the cool darkness, and the gentle murmur of a nearby river carries the stories of 1,000 forgotten travelers, their voices rippling through time like echoes in a deep canyon. You walk slowly, savoring the hush of the night and the subtle perfume of earth and water, feeling as though the world itself is exhaling, a quiet acknowledgement of passage, completion, and the fragile weight of all that has come before. The ruins of ancient outposts fade behind you, their stones glinting faintly in the moonlight, and a soft breeze carries the scent of wildflowers mixed with the faint trace of smoke from distant hearths, a reminder that even in the East, life endures quietly, patiently, and resiliently. You pause at the riverbank, watching the water glide past with a gentle, ceaseless rhythm, reflecting the pale starlight and shimmering with an almost liquid silver glow. In this moment, the world feels infinite, vast, yet intimate, and you sense that the footsteps of the Blue Wizards, those who journeyed before, vanished into legend, linger not only in memory, but in the very fabric of the land. An owl calls softly from a distant tree, and the flutter of its wings blends with the faint rustle of leaves, creating a lullaby that is both delicate and eternal, a song for all travelers who seek knowledge, courage, and subtle magic. You let your staff rest against your shoulder, exhaling a long, gentle breath, and smile at the thought that the mission's end is not a conclusion, but a quiet transformation. The mystery remains, the stories live, and the influence of those who came before continues to ripple outward, subtle and unseen. The gentle glow of the moon dances across the water, the faint glimmer of stars mirrored in your eyes, and you feel the soft hush of a fading campfire, its warmth lingering in the memory of the air, comforting, grounding, and serene. The journey eastward, with all its shadows, songs, trials, and rituals, settles into quiet reflection, a testament to the delicate interplay of choice, courage, and the enduring magic of Middle-earth. You walk slowly along the riverbank, each footstep a whisper, each breath a soft echo, until the vast landscape blends seamlessly with night. The stars above shimmering like scattered gems, and you carry with you the gentle realization that legends are alive not only in the telling, but in the walking, the observing, and the remembering. With the silver light casting long, soft reflections, you kneel by the water's edge, dipping your hand into the cool, flowing river feeling the pulse of the world beneath your fingers, a soothing reminder that even as journeys end, life continues quietly, gracefully, and with infinite patience. The rustle of distant trees, the glimmer of starlight on rippling water, and the whisper of wind through hidden reeds lull you into a gentle, reflective calm, a soft closure to an adventure that feels at once ephemeral and eternal. And as you settle on a smooth stone, listening to the steady murmur of water, the faint call of nocturnal birds, and the hush of a world at rest, you carry with you the quiet satisfaction of having walked in the steps of myth. The subtle joy of knowing that even vanishing footprints can leave traces in the heart of those who remember, and the gentle, enduring comfort that some mysteries, soft and shimmering, are meant to be savored rather than solved.